Alright everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. We haven't done a midweek 50 to 95% sales video in a while, and we know you've cleared your backlog, so we thought we'd do one.
Not literally do one.
No.
They might want us to do one when they see this. But yeah, so we've got 10 games here from a number of different regions in terms of prices and what have you. As Mark said, between 50 to 95% off at this current time.
Alright, what are the different games in those different regions for different needs? Well, let's find out. First up then, we've got No Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, Prince's Edition. It's lots of words, isn't it? Basically just the sequel to what was a very good but slightly slower paced JRPG with the Studio Ghibli style, and this one included the new element of being able to build up your own town as you went through your adventure. A lot like Dragon's Quest XI in that regard. You got these components and different elements that you could then use to build up that town area, and then that improved your force. It's a really underrated JRPG in my opinion. Everyone talks about the first one, but I actually preferred this. The only thing on the Nintendo Switch is performance isn't amazing in the open world areas, but generally solid enough and a good game. At the moment it's 84% off. That takes it down to £7.99 until October the 7th. This one's sponsored by the publisher of Dreamland Farm, a little game we did a dedicated video on the other day, and it has a nice chunky discount, taking it down to £1.79 or your regional equivalent at launch, and it's a simplistic farm sim.
Yep, it streamlines a lot of the things you generally do in a farm sim. The way that you harvest your crops or sow the seeds, the way that you upgrade any tools that you use. It's all done in a much quicker fashion than usual, and it's an ideal game for kids if they don't want to get too bogged down with the intricacies that you find in such games sometimes.
Yeah, I'd say it's very much one that suits younger players. Certainly my younger kids have enjoyed it, and as Glen said, it's a streamlined experience. Things like day and night cycles aren't part of the game. It's very much you just go to sleep once you're tired out. You can raise animals, but you don't have to worry about their sleeping environment. That's all handled for you. You just have to feed them.
On top of this, there are a number of quests that you can carry out. These will be sent to you via your post box. And as Mark mentioned, there is a nice big discount on this one with details of the current price shown at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, that sale of 82% off goes on until October the 27th. There'll be a link in the description if you want to go check this one out. And once again, a big thank you to the publisher for sponsoring this episode.
Next then we've got Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which was from Koji Igarashi, who was of course involved in the Castlevania series for a number of years, and this was his breakaway from that series and his own game that went via a Kickstarter. I think it was one of the most successful Kickstarters ever, I seem to remember hearing. And the game did release to positive reviews, albeit it is another game that, when it came to the Switch, did have performance issues at launch. It has had a fair few patches since then, and is currently 70% off its standard price up until the 4th of October.
Now, Rune Factory is a series that we love. Glen, you usually do the reviews for these games. I think even though Rune Factory 5 introduced some new elements, it was Rune Factory 4 Special Edition that really holds a special place in your heart.
Yeah, 5 took the series into 3D, whereas this is top-down. And whilst I do feel the visuals are a little muddy these days in 4, I would say possibly the best in terms of gameplay in the series, at least for me. Very good game. It does a very good job of having the farm side and the battling side complement each other rather than one overextending above the other. And if you do like your farm life games but perhaps looking for something a bit more ARPG to go alongside with it, then this is a good hybrid, and 80% off at the minute. Very good deal.
Then we've got Tchia, which was inspired by New Caledonia and uses a lot of references to that culture, and has you play as a young girl searching for her father who's been kidnapped. Aboard a little sailing vessel, you have to man the sails, raising them up and down, and then shift to things like the anchor when you want to stop. I do like those mechanics. It's a little bit more in depth than some of the systems we've seen in the past, and the island also allows you to use a special ability to essentially possess different animals and then use their abilities. So if you find a pigeon, you can possess it, fly over someone's head and poo on them. Happy days.
Yeah, there we go, why not?
It's a fun adventure, but it just launched at a higher price than I would have liked. I feel like this is spot on. It's 50% off at the moment. That is the cheapest it's ever been until October the 21st.
Nice. Then we've got Monster Hunter Rise, which is a game we've returned to recently, as it happens, and is a fantastic game. If you have any sort of love for Monster Hunter in general, then, or if you've fallen off the wagon, say, over the years, then this is a good one to pick it back up with. If you haven't ever played it, this is probably the most accessible it's ever been, and a good place to start. It sees you taking on and battling a number of gargantuous monsters, beasts, and trying to take them down, carving parts from them, upgrading your equipment and doing it all again, but it's so much better than that probably sounds.
It really is, yeah. At the moment, as we say, 75% off is an insane price, well worth picking up. Gargantuous. Listen to this guy. He heard a comment the other day where the guy was like, I always love Glen's language. Always love Glen's language. I'm here for that. Gargantuous. Have a day off, would you?
Now I need to put a word with at least 3 syllables in every video just to keep it up.
Oh man. Following on from that is actually led by a comment I saw on the sales video the other day of a guy that was saying he's finally trying Guacameleeee 2 from his backlog and just absolutely loving it. This starts brilliantly. You're like washed up. So you're is it a matador, a luchador? One of those?
Luchador, isn't it?
Luchador. Yeah. And he's quite washed up at the start of the game, and I love the way they introduce his character like that, and then obviously he has to go on this big adventure. The thing with this one is, although it has Metroidvania elements and things like that, you can actually play this with up to 4 players, and it's like drop in, drop out, so they can do that quite freely. So if you do have younger players, they can come join you, and certainly that's useful for me. I can do the kind of legwork, and they can kind of just bounce around the screen. At the moment, that one is on sale at 75% off, which I believe matches its lowest ever price. That sale goes on until October the 30th. Then we've got 13, which was an old first-person shooter from when I was a wee lad, and it was very much liked because it was quite stylistic and quite unique at the time. Now, I think it was Microids bought us this remaster or remake of the original that uses a different engine, tries to bring things up to the modern era. I say tries. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes something's not broke. You know, you don't necessarily need to do much at all other than up the resolution, and that's what I think they should have done. Just got it running at 60 and then re-released it. They tried to make this one look a bit fancy, and performance sucked at launch, and then they kind of sucked. I'm getting Americanized, Glen.
You are being Americanized.
I really have, haven't I?
Performance was atrocious.
It was abysmal. Appalling.
Yeah. Horrendous.
I, for one, was upset.
I wrote to my MP about it.
I did.
Actually?
No. So this one went that route, and on Switch we know how that goes. It was just bad. Thankfully they patched it quite a few times. By that time, a lot of these games have died, haven't they? People were like, no, I remember what it was like. And plus you look at Metacritic, and everyone's like, oh, the performance was terrible. That was a small cricket review in a game.
You've gone too English. Talking about cricket, see? That's what happened.
Well, you know.
Am I right in saying that Microids pulled this from the dev team that were working on it because of the issues and actually gave it to someone else completely?
Well, it sounds right, and if it isn't, you know.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I don't know what version. I think that went on other consoles, and the Switch actually never saw that version. So by the time it came to Switch, it was with the new dev team. It doesn't mean it's perfect. I haven't even played it. I know you reviewed it, but I seem to remember that being the story to some capacity, you know?
Yes, yeah, I do. It's funny, we've had a few things like that, haven't we, recently? Knights of the Old Republic, man, Aspire, come on, man. Anyway, 13 isn't a very, very, very old school first-person shooter, super linear, but there is still some fun to be had in there, especially at 75% off. That sale ends on October the 15th.
We've got a bundle of games next. You've got Figment 1 and Figment 2. Now these are top-down adventure games with quite a quirky humour to them, and these take place within a character's mind and the pitfalls that brings when someone is struggling with everyday life, basically.
It's funny with this style of game. I think this is way too good a game to be $3.59.
Yeah.
Or 2 games, I should say, like individually. But this style tends, or it seems at least, not to sell particularly well. You know, people like when we release a video in that style, people don't tend to watch it. You know, it's a great game.
Yeah, I agree. I did prefer the first over the second. to be perfectly honest. I think the second had a few more performance issues at launch than that first game. And just for me personally, I felt like the humour worked better in the first game. I don't want to sound harsh, but perhaps a sequel wasn't necessarily warranted or needed. You know, it could have been a standalone game and it would have been fine. But you're getting two for the price of one, basically, aren't you? We're getting two for about the price of a packet of crisps, to be honest. But they are decent games and, you know, certainly worth this price.
That better be a bloody big bag.
Oh, it's a big, expensive, like, deluxe packet of crisps, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking like cheap supermarket owned, but I'm sure you can get them for that price.
Perfect.
It works.
It works perfectly. That sale goes on until October the 21st. All right, our penultimate game then is Cow the Kangaroo. This launched with the most ludicrous issue, whereby you play through the entirety of the game and then your save file just disappeared.
Yeah, it did. Yes, because I reviewed this and was very annoyed when that happened. But it has had a patch since then, so thankfully they fixed that issue. And aside from that, it was a decent 3D platformer. I think it's a game that had been out in the past, KO the Kangaroo, and they'd remastered it. I may be wrong there. I'm fairly sure I'm right. It's got some wonky voice acting.
Yeah.
The wonkiest of all the wonky.
Oh.
But it's fun, and now that they fixed that issue, for what, £6 odd, 75% off, yeah, I'd be comfortable buying this game.
Yeah, to give you an idea of that voice acting, right, it's like if Arnie was walking up to that guy asking for his clothes and he's like, "Can I have your jacket, please?" Yeah, that's how different it would have been. You're like, "Nah, mate, you're all right."
Bit cold, actually. I'm going to keep it on. If it's all the same to you.
I need
Arnie.
your clothes, your boots and your motorcycle. You're not having them. Go back to that little round ball you came out of.
Time portal. Go on you go. See you later.
Our final game then, the Hidden Gem, and this has remained a hidden gem for years now. It's a brilliant game. It's called Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Yeah, this is a very good game. It's a first-person survival horror game where you play as an illustrator who worked at a particular company for many years and has returned there now, and something sinister is going on. The drawings, you know, the characters from the comic strips and what have you have come to life and are haunting the place. And it's done in that kind of rubber hose style from the, I don't know, I suppose 20s, 30s. Looks very good. Combat is a bit iffy, is probably my biggest complaint of the game, but the atmosphere and the general story I feel is worth playing for. It's one of those games I feel that almost could be as big as something like Five Nights at Freddy's in terms of the characters and how iconic they look, but for whatever reason it's not taken off to that degree, but yeah, worth buying for this price.
Lovely stuff. All right, let us know in the comments if you've made any purchases from this video, if you've had a good time. I've had a good time.
Yeah, no, it's been all right. It's been good.
I need your clothes. No. No, I don't need your clothes.
No.
Thanks to our Patreons and members, all of you that enjoy the content. Do save yourself a bit of money. You can save 5% on your eShop credit using code NOTHING. You just go over to switchup.gg, make your purchase, and you get 5% in cash back.
It's not code nothing.
No, sorry, that was a bit
misleading.
A bit confusing, wasn't it? Sorry about that.
Don't use a code.
No.
It's not necessary.
I mean, you can type something in the box if you want. It's not going to do anything.
All your boots.
Yeah.
And your motorcycle. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.